Hi, and welcome to the WVD Community Podcast. This is already the 11th episode, and we're here together with Neil and Stefan. Welcome, you two.
Hey.
And today we have a very interesting guest from Denmark actually with us. He is heavily involved in several communities around the globe and has been awarded already as an MVP, CTP, NGCA, VIPP, V-Expert, and EUC champion. Oh my God, what a full list. Let me welcome Thomas Poppelgaard. Welcome.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thomas, how are you doing?
Great, thank you.
That's great. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your work in the community?
Yeah, so it is really broad. So as you can see, it's both Citrix and VMware and Microsoft and Parallels and NVIDIA and even actually Hewlett Packard Enterprise, where I'm part of Influence program. I work a lot with the technologies, which is also why it's natural for me to give back. And I try to do that both through blogging about technology, but also by speaker engagement. And before we had COVID, I traveled all the time. Actually, was extremely active speaking around the world. So now I just work a lot. I really work a lot. But what I do, of course, is many times when you're awarded, then you have the privilege of giving back directly to the PMs inside the vendors, and I do a lot of that, which really is great. And then I share sometimes things, without doing something stupid. Then I share that on the social media. But of course, by having all these NDAs, where you have all these awards, that also means I have to think what I share, right?
Yeah, you cannot talk about everything on public.
Yeah, that's I guess that's the only downside about it. But the great thing is I get access to all these things, and it's, as an independent consultant, it is actually really amazing to have that total freedom, and I'm really honored because I understood here the other day that there's not, I think, only like 2 people now with all these awards, which I was like, that cannot be true. But I was like quite shocked about that, because I know there used to be more who have VMware EUC champion and MVP and CTP, and then I have also all the other awards. But let's see, maybe things change, right? Because things are hopefully changing, so there'll be other, because I know a lot of people are doing a lot of contributions. Now, these are yearly awards, so of course I get measured, right, by each vendor, by my contribution. So I try to, as possible, to be active on the things. Now, the great thing is I work really broad with the things, so it's not just something I say, right? I actually get my hands dirty with technologies, and I love that. That's what I love about a consultant.
Yeah.
Then I also do other things, like sometimes I do stuff like this, but that's my own interest in AR, VR, and I like a lot to play with new tech, like this stuff here, which is a server. That'd be nice to have WVD on that.
So what is it you just show? What?
This is HoloLens.
Yeah, but the other thing?
This is the new generation moonshot from Hewlett Packard Enterprise, but it's actually a server, and it's a 5 gigahertz CPU with NVMe and GPU, 64 gigabyte memory, up to 4 terabyte NVMe. And the crazy thing is you can have a lot of compute on that. So when potentially in the future we get this Azure stack with WVD, this will be a beast.
Cool.
It's already a beast now.
You can just put it in your backpack and take it with you. You got a lot of power in it.
So I've done some work for HPE actually with it over the last half year, and it will be soon released. So it's actually Citrix and VMware, some reference guide architecture, and it works. I don't know if you guys seen some video I put out on Twitter. It's actually running the Command and Conquer on 8K. It's running on this one here. And
8K?
Yeah, it's working astonishing.
Wow, so what GPU does it have in there?
Well, it's 2 times 4K, right? So it's not real 8K. but it's still 2x 4K monitors. I think that's pretty cool.
It is.
And it's only using, the crazy thing is when I have a full 1U server, it's only 800 watts it's using.
Mm-hmm.
It uses less than my VR machine. Anyways, it's that's just one of my passions, as you guys can hear.
Yeah, great. Well, we're talking about gaming as well. When you see the videos of the last weeks, I think WVD turns into a gaming station already.
Yeah,
When you see Rick with his flight simulator, for example.
That's so cool. So I did first. I remember I did this Command and Conquer running on this technology with VMware on it, and then Freak did it with WVD, Command and Conquer, and then he did it with Flight Simulator. So I do actually a lot of gaming, and I also have the Flight Simulator with the real flight sticks and all that. I'm actually quite crazy when it comes to gaming equipment, but I don't share much of that about that. I don't share.
Have you seen the new NVIDIA cards that just been released? They look
they're quite expensive.
Impressive.
I would love one of those, but $1,500 is a lot of money. That's going to change everything. 8K gaming in 60 frames per second, but still $1,500 for just the GPU part.
Yeah,
right. Then you probably need a brand new PC because it's consuming 3 slots, which is ridiculous, right?
So did Microsoft then release their, or didn't they start to do kind of a pre-release version of their gaming service over at Azure? Or sort of doing the Xbox streaming service. I've not heard much about that recently. Yeah,
game streaming is going to be really, really big. I think I've done a lot, used NVIDIA over the years, the GeForce Now. Really astonishing technology. I think they are one of the best. Then also Google Stadia, right? Which is actually running on MI25 GPUs from AMD, which is NVV4, what you guys know in Azure. It's the same GPU they use for gaming. The cool thing about the gaming is you can actually then, with Google, right, you just use a Chromecast and then you do 4K gaming in your, and it streams. But one of my friends, he does it, but it consumes 700 megabit.
Jesus. So you need
real time.
So you need at least a gigabit internet connection. But
it's 4K. But still, it's ridiculous, right? Yeah. We're using on a Chromecast, and then there's just controllers. That's really amazing. So you don't need that, crazy GPU in your building machine. I think that's a huge.
You only need that Chromecast and a device to stick it in.
Yeah. So when Microsoft comes out with the xCloud X, whatever it's called, if they're coming out with whatever device, that'd be interesting. Also, it'd be interesting to see that new phone they have with the game running that. It should be. I think that would be no problem. It's just a device. But streaming is coming here for real now, guys. 5G network coming here now. So it's. But I'm also old-fashioned gamer, and I do like when the games are down, I could just turn on and I don't know. So you don't have to think about you have to have the super fast bandwidth and you have to be But I don't know. I'm a bit old-fashioned when it comes to gaming, and being a little bit controlled as well. But of course, the cloud is the future. But it also have a cost behind it.
Yeah, I mean, that's when people are showing those videos, saying Flight Simulator streaming, saying, "Oh, this is my new gaming PC." It's like, well, yeah, but it's going to cost you £1,500 a month for that. That gaming PC. So,
but again, let's say the X, they make it really, really cheap because they have the Ultimate Pass, which is costing nothing, and you just get access to tons of games on PC and Xbox. Yeah. And if they do the same thing with streaming. To be honest, I think I would use that because it is really a nightmare, even with Flight Simulator. Oh, there's just an update coming, right? If you want to install it, 100 gigs, right? Oh, Xbox, that's coming an update for another new game. Oh, there's just an update, 40 gigs. How long is it going to take? 4 hours, right?
Yeah.
Depending on, of course, the line you have. But I think the future of streaming, and like WVD, right, where we just get access, boom. We're not relying on compute, things getting provisioned. It's just there for us. Yeah. I'm really excited because that's where we are now, and it's just the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I know you've done sort of a lot with Citrix and VMware and stuff like that. I remember I had a conversation with you a few months ago, and I can tell you have a lot of excitement for WVD. How do you find your WVD experience, and what do you see the kind of the future?
Yeah, so okay. So I've been there part of the entire journey because I've been in P now for 5 years. I'm in the RDS group, which is also WVD. So I've been, from when they evolved, and I was really skeptical to begin with. I was very skeptical.
Why?
Because it's Microsoft, right? But they evolved. So and the remote app, they learned the tough way, right? And sadly, I also saw where they laid off almost half the team. But they grow and they learned, and then they evolved to the most beautiful thing. So it's really astonishing. And I think, okay, definitely because of COVID also have helped WVD making companies adopt it like insane, right? Yeah. So like we had no choice, but it's been an amazing journey, and I think it's to see where it is now. Of course, it can always be better, but it is really crazy, and also because of you guys, right? You guys actually show how much it evolves every week.
Yep.
Because if people don't share about what they're doing, they just get lost in information.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So what you guys are doing is actually helping Microsoft, because there's so much, right? And I don't think people understand that. I talked with a customer the other day, and they even didn't knew it was GA yet.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they have thousands of users running on the fall.
Yeah, it does change.
Isn't that amazing? No, but it's something to think about. Like, the things are going so fast, but don't expect your customers to know what's happening, because it's moving so fast. And if you take VMware or Citrix, right, where they moved before, now they move even per quarter, right, which I think is really, really fast. But in some ways, WVD is moving even faster, which I think is like, wow, it's going maybe also a little bit too fast, because we sometimes also have to move a little bit back, and I think it's important to definitely do testing and quality, not just always run on the latest and greatest, because there can be problems with Windows. That's quite known, right? I think that's the dangerous thing about, it's not always it makes sense if you are a company that want to be, on the cutting edge, but many also just want stability. Even when they go to WVD, they just want stability. They don't want, oh, we just want this new feature. We just want this. We just want this. They also like, when they're there, then they're there, right? And I think that's where some companies, they move on, but many times so what I can share with you guys is I've done tons of these POCs together with some Microsoft Gold partners where they're sponsored by Microsoft. And then, the beautiful thing is the customer gets kind of, these funded project, and we come in as the experts, and then we deliver, and then it's a POC, but it becomes actually production, right? Let me just be honest with you. I don't like that, but that's just reality.
Yeah,
customers takes it, and then they go production, and because it's so easy. And then they scale up. I've been in some projects where it's like 24 users, and then it becomes 5,000 users. But they take the project we have done with 25 users to 5,000 users, which I think is a huge accomplishment, right? When talking with some customers, like, we just scale up ourselves because what you guys did. I'm like, wow, that's incredible. And if you do it right, you don't need the consultant to scale, which I think is quite an astonishing thing, right?
If you got the basics right.
If you got the things done properly.
Then
exactly.
You can just scale, like you said, to 1,000, 4,000.
If you got image management done properly.
Yep.
Yeah, because I see many times people don't do that. And then they are lost, in the wild of the WVD world. Which is a good thing, because that also means, there are people that move so fast with some of these crazy fast projects, and then they come back to, hopefully us to
go. Yep.
It's true. So, if you're doing deployments and if it's done right, it doesn't matter if it's 500, 5,000 or 50,000.
I really don't care if it's, to be honest, even several users, 10, 25 or hundreds of thousands. Of course, it's always nice to see when it's larger, the amount of data, right? What Azure can do, what it can't do, and, reliability, all that kind of stuff, and how you also have to size different and size. And to be honest, what I like about the WVD is I keep on, learning new things, like security. And sometimes I work with some clients where security is really big thing. And, then you see this, what are the sides of WVD, what can you, what can't you, are you in a gray zone? So yeah, it's not just, to be honest, it's not just the GPUs I do with WVD. It's actually a small part, which is quite interesting, right? Because when it comes to more the on-prem solutions, I do tons of GPUs, almost every time. But in the cloud, and it comes down to, do you need it or not, and cost.
Yeah, cost may be one of the things that might be important for the clients as well. Because when you see the difference between a normal VM and one with GPU, yeah, the amount is quite high. Yeah, and also many times when you test, let's say a VM, a D3, what's it called? I can't remember the name. What's one of the most standard names? The D4S V3. No.
Yeah, the DS4 version 3.
Yeah, it's one of the most standard types, and I see as one of the most generic best VMs. It is quite astonishing fast.
D4S is that one, I think.
V3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, without the GPUs.
Yeah.
Without GPUs and with SSD and all that. That's performing quite astonishing, right? It does, but of course it depends on what you do, right? And of course also what I see is if you don't test it in your early phase, then you don't do it. It's simple as that. You don't do it later, right? Unless you talk with some people that said, oh, maybe you should look at this. And I think that makes it a little bit difficult because I do like talking about GPUs and what value they give, but there's also something called reality, right? Which is just, you can't get that done every single time. Now, and that's funny because in the on-prem, it was so easy to convince people to do GPUs, right? So, and I think this is like, why do we see this behavior? And I think that's, I think it's going to be a little bit difficult.
I think it's down to cost. Obviously, within the on-prem world, yes, you still have your GPUs, but they didn't cost double on the server, right? If you're spending $5,000 on the server, you probably spend £1,200 on the GPU, right? Yeah. But when you look at the consumption cost of it used to be the case. Now we've got the new AMD GPUs out, but it used to be the case of an NVIDIA GPU versus a D4S. It is literally double the cost.
Yep.
And I've got customers. Most of my customers don't use GPUs. Because as I said, most of them run quite happily on a D4S.
There you go. And that's the same thing I see. That's because I would say that's probably 90, maybe even higher number, I'm going to say now, that I do.
Unless you...
95. I'm not kidding you guys. It is like that. So the projects I do most of the times in WVD are not GPUs. Sadly, I would like to. I do sometimes, but that's when it's more application that needs it.
Yeah.
Right? But applications like Office and even browsers and Edge and stuff like that uses it. But it comes down to, even end of the day, does it work? Doesn't it work? What are you paying for? And sometimes it's also about getting a project done in a short time with a success. And if things are working, then you choose that, that option with that. What you know works.
Yeah, for sure. But I have a question to you, Thomas, as well. As you said, there is maybe a little number of projects you already did with WVD and GPUs. Do you maybe have some experiences to share with the community?
Yeah, that's been more. So that's been more like high-end CAD applications. So there was some resellers that need some help with some WVD projects they did, and they didn't have experience with CAD applications, and I'm an expert in that in UC. So I helped them, how they didn't know even is this working, how it's expected to work, or yeah. And of course, if you never work with it, right, and if somebody's complaining, right, and the funny part, without sharing any names, but I guess I could share a little bit what this one was, because they might even see this podcast, is that they were using the application wrong. And I've been working together with Autodesk Consulting for 5 years now. So I've been on large projects together with the team before COVID, a lot really. And then, I know how they work and how we optimize and stuff like that, and advise. And I saw they were designing wrong, the models. And then I said, hey, let's take a physical machine, and and I took a physical machine I had, and I could see the problem with the drawing, right? So it is so funny, right? Such a basic thing is like, it works like crap on WVD. Yeah, but it also works like crap on my local machine. So it's nothing to do, but you guys don't understand what I'm talking about. So, and it comes down to basic things. When people are doing stuff on GPUs, compare them also with your local, because then you understand what are you expecting as a user experience. Don't overcomplicate your thing. You're doing WVD, right? You can do it on a local machine. See how it works there. Then you can do in WVD. If it works bad, well, maybe you need to optimize the app. Maybe the app is not compatible in WVD. It could be that. Or maybe you're doing something you're not allowed to do, where you're breaking an EULA, like doing CAD applications on on Windows 10 multi-session, right, with the EVD. Some applications you can run, but you're not allowed from the vendor side to do it. Yep. And now some Autodesk customers, if they talk with Autodesk and they're big, then they will definitely run into the problem if they create a support ticket and they see it's not part of the validated systems. But most people do multi-session, right? Because they are like, yeah, that's cost effective. We can get it cheap. We can get price down. But the customers that I work with that does high-end, they do one-to-one, even in Azure. And for them, it's good enough, right? They can now use Azure for bursting and scaling. It's amazing for them. They don't have to wait for hardware to get shipped in. And when they win a project, they can just, onboard these amount of users, shut it down when they're done. But also, some customers, they're not allowed to because of government regulations. So they're not allowed to use Azure because of the data they cannot control the data. So I still think we will see, it's not, WVD is not, and I know WVD just came for Gov, but keep in mind, many times it's engineering company or architecture company that works for government, right? These, 3 letters companies, and then they cannot make the stuff there if they're not, compliant, because they have to own the data. And that's why sometimes they actually even come out with servers and put them on the customer's data centers. But yeah, that was, I guess I went a little bit further deeper into some things I'm involved in. But yeah, no, for me, projects I've also done a lot in COVID I've been really feeling, how do you say, both proud, but I feel honored to be involved with some resellers I've been working with over the last 2 years. And they were even part of the Microsoft Inspire keynote, which was pretty cool. So they won some of the things. So I'm pretty excited about actually what I do with them, because we worked with some quite astonishing customers. I'm just a consultant, right? So I deliver services to any kind of company. But for them, I presented their company, right? And we've done a lot of WVD projects in healthcare for these kind of critical infrastructures when COVID was really bad. And I wouldn't, to be honest, guys, I don't think I would be able to do that as a consultant as myself, because I'm not a Microsoft Gold partner, right? I'm just myself, right? I'm actually extremely fragile when it comes to a consultant perspective. So yeah, that's why I feel extremely honored to be able to do stuff like this, you know, because back in the days, guys, I used to work with some very big resellers, and then I was part of that, proud of being part of that. And then you come automatically out to these customers, right? You guys are with some big companies, then it comes natural, right? But when you're independent, it is really difficult, guys. It's really difficult. My life, I don't know what I'm doing in 2 months, even in a month, I don't know. And it's been like this for 7 years. So I think it's okay.
You must be obviously, I don't know where you find your time, Thomas, because I don't know where you find all your time, because you're doing all that consultancy work, right? You got all your community stuff, and you got a newborn child as well.
Yeah, now I got a newborn. Yeah, here in 2.5 months ago, I got a daughter. Yeah, no, my life is different now, but it's different in a good way because of COVID. I'm actually, again, extremely happy. My cup is quite full when it comes to that, because I'm home. I used to travel every month, like crazy, really crazy when I think about it. And now I'm just home.
Yeah.
Of course, it's really good also to get out. I do miss coming out, and seeing community people, and I really miss that. And like a lot.
Do you reckon you'll go back to traveling?
It's not going to happen for the next year. That's I'm like 1000% sure I'm not going to travel for a long time, until things are a little bit more calm. I was actually at my first customer yesterday, and that was really weird, but it went really well. But they've been in the office for a long time. But for me, it was extremely weird, right? But it was nice, and I felt actually a little bit more human again.
Yeah, you are missing the social things about meeting customers or just visiting them.
Yeah, now I just see neighbors and friends and family, right?
Yeah.
That's most family and neighbors. Yeah, it's weird. But I guess I guess you guys are in the same boat, right? Everybody, mostly people, I think most are in the same boat, right? And I have to have some friends that are more, they are crazy how they travel, and they still, you know, they don't give up. But I can't. I don't think we can do that when we have such a small kid. So we are a little bit more on the risk zone. So we take precautions. But yeah, no, things are good here. I can't complain. I'm home. I have a lot of time. I spend time on projects I have not done in many years.
Your wife's been keeping you busy.
No, it's also myself, because I'm a guy who is I can't stand still, so I'm always doing something. So that's a really good thing. With the community, of course, when you're involved in so many communities, then I can spend the time on, you know, what community I want to spend the time in. But you can also spend so much time that you get lost, right? And that's so for you, Neil, when you're in a newly born MVP, be careful, because when you open up Pandora's box, be careful you don't get attracted to many of the other groups, because they can suck you in, and then you will be having
I was having this
meetings.
I was having this exact conversation with the rest of the guys earlier. It's kind of that line, that boundary is becoming less and less, and I think clear boundaries have to be set. Because one thing I respect about you is obviously when we contact you, you say, "Oh yeah, I can't do this into this time because this time is my family time." I mean, obviously a mixture of working from home all the time as well, and all this COVID-19, all this community stuff. It's just so easy just to get involved. Literally from the moment that you wake up till the moment you go to bed, right? If you want to, you can do.
Yeah, you can just work.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm also in the. I've been quite lucky. So before our daughter came to our world, she gave birth. For a little bit over a month, I had no work. It was really crazy, because I went from doing crazy WVD to nothing. I was like, what is happening? I have no work for a month. I was like, oh, but it was really good, right? I do like time when I do nothing, because then I do other things. And I think it's really healthy to stop up and then say, oh, what can I do with the time you suddenly have? Because that's a luxury, having a time. because when you're also working too much, right? I worked entire my July. Normally I do vacation. I had no vacation. This year I only had like 1 week or something like. This summer has been crazy. Really insane working, right? Cool projects, but yeah. But sometimes you also like suck it up, go through it, get it done, and then you can enjoy after, right? But I think there's a definitely work balance between working and family, and it's independent. My work comes and goes in like weather patterns. Sometimes it's calm, other times it's hurricane season. But I think it's really important if you do it all time hurricane season, right? Then you have to definitely.
Sometimes you need to step back. Yeah. And just.
And I've done that sometimes when it's too much, because you can break down, right? And I think it's really dangerous, potentially also this working from home concept. A lot of people who are not used to it now, suddenly they are like, oh, it's so nice to be home working. Yeah, but if you're working crazy now, right? Okay, so maybe you're doing quite well financially, whatever. But if, you can't spend the money and you can't relax, then trust me, it will come and punch you in the face.
Yeah, eventually it will. It will come back around.
Yeah, exactly. So my advice to people out there is definitely look in yourself, and then all the time look in yourself where you are, and if you're crossing the line and how often you're crossing the line. I think it's going to be potentially even tougher, depending how long time the COVID is. It's been here for half a year now, but not all people are strong. It's also okay to not be okay. I think that's, I don't think it's enough talked about, right? How are we doing, right?
Yeah, I agree.
But it's also okay.
It's always the positive things that people are sharing, but not the downsides of. And especially, like you just said, crossing the line. I think most people don't know when they're crossing that line. And when they cross that line, they've already been through that much that it will come as a hit in the face situation.
Yeah.
Then you have to get back up. And
I don't want to say what people should do, but for myself, what we try to do is sometimes just, sometimes you can go out, you can go to the supermarket, get the small time, or, get out, do some things.
Enjoy the little things.
Enjoy the little things, and the little things can be such a big thing, giving you a huge, so you get more new energy to.
Sometimes just a walk in the park for like 30 minutes, an hour with your dog.
You're Dutch. You guys, I learned that by working. Dutch people are extremely well with that, walking around when they go to office. I'd never tried anything like it. You go to an office, and then people have said to me, "Oh, well, let's do a walk," and then said, "What about lunch?" No, first we do walk, then we eat. I said, "Okay, that was really cool."
Yeah, yeah, and you can just clear your head. You can just, for example, if you got that morning, you got a issue, and you could not figure it out what's happening or what's the reason why it's happening. And well, with lunch, you just go have a walk, like 30 minutes, and when you come back, you will gain new insights, and mostly you will just fix that issue because you can clear your head, walk in the park. It's
That's cool. So I love going outside, and I have a house. I live in the country outside a big city, so I have a garden, and I've been doing quite crazy garden work in this COVID. I'm also born in UK, so maybe I have a little bit of these, crazy grass fingers where I have all roses.
So are you a British citizen then, or are you?
So I had to choose actually when I used to be until I was 18, and then I got a much hard choice where I had to choose. I want to go to the British Army. I'm like, I don't want to do that. So I was like, screw it. I choose the Danish passport. But my parents are Danish. But
I didn't know that.
I was born in a city called Oakham, which is north from London.
Ah, okay. So when did you move over to back to?
My first language was when I was born English. Even when I came to Denmark in kindergarten, I spoke English first. And I think the first 20 years of my life, I always thought English first. So it's really strange, the words. And I think that's a good thing, right? I guess when I work with tech, that I have this, English. Yeah. So, well, pretty cool you guys are going. I normally I don't go. It's pretty nice you guys are talking quite so broad. Also on a personal level, people don't do that often, so that's quite nice. You guys do that. So it's nice to talk with you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry we can't hug.
Yeah. I think it will take a long time for us to meet each other.
Yeah.
So you're not going to E2E?
Sorry?
You're not going to E2E?
Well, we just spoke about it, but I really don't know. And it's not that because when we go here to the supermarket, it's more of an issue than just in some kind of hotel in a lobby. But I think the important thing is the flight to Greece in this case.
But flight is the less impacted thing because there's no people on the flight.
Yeah, but I don't know. You don't know that in front before you are.
I think it's more when you go to places where there are a lot of people, and then where there's a lot of. I think then there's a high chance. But I think actually the airports now are the less where you get it because of the filters in the airplanes, and I've seen. I know some people that still travel, and the pictures they put up on Facebook there's nobody.
Okay, so. Well, we just talked about it. We got the tickets.
Yeah, we got tickets.
The reservation for the hotel. So the only thing we need to figure out is.
Oh, you guys have that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I don't think I will be joining because I do see a wave coming.
Yeah, I do.
Because of the flu season, it is like the countries are closing down, and I went even the company I went out to yesterday. The leadership tell the employees now go back. Don't come into the office. It's like they're preparing, right? It's like
yeah. So I think a month ago or 1.5 months ago, most companies stated that well, if you could, you can just come to the office, socialize, and like 50-50 on the office and working from home. And I think since 2 weeks ago, they decided to no, just work from home. And sometimes go to the office, and just for the social part of meeting your colleagues and just for that part. So definitely.
Why didn't they meet down the bar if they want to socialize? Come on.
Sorry?
Why didn't they meet down the bar?
Yeah.
Why do you want to sit in the office at the computer?
So since COVID, I haven't been to a bar, so I don't know. No.
Man, I haven't been at a bar since I think like February. I don't know. Crazy. But I have my own bar. Home, I guess my gin bar. So I drink myself in pity.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty much true. No, it is really cool being part of this because this is again, the way we can socialize.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people actually. I know they do a lot of socializing in VR, and it's kind of funny, right? Because I don't do that, and I think it's because I have my family. And I like being present. I like being the present moment, where you can feel me, and I know in VR you do that, but then you don't have your surroundings around you. But of course, if you're alone, VR is amazing. You just go there, meet people, an avatar. We can sit here talk. And it gets suddenly more real because more personal.
Yeah.
Which is pretty
more
cool.
Interaction between.
And also extremely lose time, and VR sucks up a lot of time, which is why I try not to do too much of it. It's like gaming.
I've never used it.
You've never used it. You should try.
No, never tried it at all.
Me neither.
If you have time.
I tried it once, and this is a really funny story. It was a game like when you were moving in VR, the game would just play the same speed as that you were moving, and it doesn't look anything realistic. So on the screen there was a little couch in front of me, so I bent. I wanted to lean toward that couch.
And you fell over.
And I fell over. And I was like, whoa!
So realistic.
My first and last experience in VR.
Oh, that was pretty cool. You got the full immersive experience.
Yeah. So, do we got anything to talk about in relation to WVD, guys, or?
Nah, let's scrap WVD.
Sorry?
Oh.
I
was joking.
Yeah. So again, what's in there? What do you guys see? So when WVD coming from on-prem?
Is it coming to on-prem? Azure Stack?
Who's doing WVD on-prem?
No one.
No one.
Apart from you, Thomas.
I haven't done it. I think Claudio, right? Claudio is doing it.
Oh, do you mean about installing the agent on a? Yeah, no, don't do that. That's not a good idea. Do you reckon it will come to Azure Stack though? Obviously, I think the plans to, isn't it? Aren't they, right?
Yeah, well, I hope so. They have it in these kind of previews, but I have to be honest, I don't know where it is.
I thought they were planning on getting it to Azure Stack, but
yeah, let's see. Whether soon, what's it called? Inspire or what? No.
Yep.
Inspire, right?
Or Ignite.
Ignite.
Yep. So maybe they will announce something on Ignite.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. I hope so. Some things are coming. Well, what can we talk about WVD? So one thing I think I'll try to pick your guys' brains on is, and I know I did it with Neil yesterday, optimization.
Yep.
Really, really hot subject, because without saying something stupid, let's see here. So I used to be quite the big fanboy of Citrix Optimizer, because it's just really beautiful made, and you can go through what they're doing, and I really like that. And then also Mark, he actually gets it validated by Microsoft, right? I think I can say that. I hope I can share that. So he has kind of like, he cannot do, because I found some things you can optimize, and I told him, why can you do that? And he was not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
But if you take the VMware, which is an optimizer, which is a Hilco, right? A really cool guy. He made that and put a lot of effort into that tool, and they optimize really a lot. Also, sometimes where you have to be careful with it. And then there's the German guy who has to make the community tool, which is pretty awesome as well. I think that's more stable now. It used to be really bad some years ago. But that was only for a small time, which is why I was really careful using it. And then we have the new tool from Microsoft, right? Where they call the VDI guys, but I'm like, it's Microsoft. End of the day, guys, it's Microsoft. Why? And this is why something I don't understand. Why are they doing this? I'm like, yeah, but it's the article is on Microsoft. It's Microsoft. It's
but they changed it, right? So it's not the VDI guys anymore.
Yeah, but they promoted first kind of like, it's two guys, VDI guys, and I'm like, yeah, but
it's not supported by Microsoft
Yeah, but come on, when will it be? Because most of the time when there's a new feature coming out, it comes out in GitHub, but then in its preview, potentially it's supported, right? And even myself, I don't know that where they're going with this optimization. I feel extremely critical, but at the same time, I get so much pressure from people telling me to do it, because they just say optimize the heck out of it, which is awesome. But I also feel like you're doing something blindfolded, and you're walking around not knowing what you're doing, and potentially how you're impacting things. My experience with optimization tool over the years has been, you have to be really careful, not shutting down features and functionality you need in your operating system that you might need, which could be also GPUs, right? But it could also be basic things like search. Back in the days, they actually turned off search, which is...
Or stuff like the sticky notes app, which hates users when you remove that, right? Because like the search optimizer, it removes the sticky notes. People love sticky notes.
Yeah.
So why remove it? It doesn't like it take up lots of resources.
You
But
have
it
to
gets
be careful
flagged
what
under
you
a
do.
UWP app, so it gets removed, right?
But even companies, some companies, they might use UWP without telling you. And then when they get it, like, oh, why did you remove it? Because now we can't do this part. I'm like, yeah, okay, so why didn't you tell us? Because it's another department who just got the WVD now.
Yeah.
And you just destroyed it.
And now you've got to rebuild your whole image to put that back in again.
Exactly.
So don't you think that Microsoft should decide to put in a few of those optimizations already in the Windows Virtual Desktop image, in the multi-user part?
So that would be obvious, right? Because they optimized.
Because I think there will be a lot of things which is always being used for, no matter a single user, multi-user. Those are best practices for optimizing the Windows 10 OS.
That would make sense.
And on top of that, a tool or something where you can just choose and see what's going on. Because just as you just said, for example, I think in one of the first versions of the VDI guys, and also on the documentation, they also disabled the root updates for certificates. So suddenly you got a problem where
great for security,
where that root certificate is not being updated. So you will just get SSL errors and stuff because of default it's been turned off in their best practices for a VDI environment.
So I think that's really dangerous what they're doing, because they are Microsoft. And if they look at the security people inside Microsoft that they're telling, you are potentially doing something what they are recommending, right? And I think that's why things need to be more put in boxes, and you have to have the options to choose things.
Yeah, and
I think it's also wrong. I think it's really wrong that people have to edit themselves in JSON files or whatever that they have to do. And that's what I like about Citrix, is that you know what you were doing, what's happening, what are you doing, can I revert back, right? I really like that they made that. And the last options, you can also just remove things.
Yep.
If something
and you can just analyze it. So when you got already a system, you can just run it, analyze, and see what kind of issue of what kind of configurations are already applied.
Yeah. I do highly recommend people optimize. I definitely, it's, you know, you get of course more users on and so on, but yeah, which is interesting, because I've done a lot of that on prem as well, where people never seen optimization tool, and you put it in and suddenly, you know, things are just super fast. So the optimization tools are, I think, but yeah, I am just personally myself, I'm a little bit concerned what Microsoft are doing with it, because it's kind of a gray zone where they're in with the tool. I know, I don't think it's something you guys have covered so much, but I just want to hear what you guys are, what your opinions are about the Microsoft optimization tool. Are you guys comfortable with it?
Yeah, actually, there's also one thing that confuses me a little bit, because when you see, for example, the latest version of the Azure Academy video from Dean Fowler, and he was explaining the optimization tool, he was mentioning or he was recommending to optimize your session host while it's being deployed, not as an image before you generalize it. What is your opinion about this? When should you optimize? Before you generalize, or afterwards, as a kind of custom script extension which runs the optimization?
I would definitely do it before.
Yeah.
I think that's the majority of customers where I've seen where they have it, because they also, it's about the time it takes for the stuff to get ready.
Yeah.
And of course, maybe he likes it because then they're consuming more money. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I was just really.
Oh, that was just joking. But but you are consuming more money in Azure.
But right? I was really shocked when I heard this statement, because yeah, I know it as well to apply directly on the base image itself. But yeah, it's good to have your opinion.
Could it be maybe because the things can break sysprep or whatever? Could it be because it can break some things?
He didn't explain it.
Yeah, especially with the VDI guys, with the optimization script, where they are just removing a few universal apps. And I think that will break sometimes a sysprep. They
really need to make this options, so you choose things, because then you can also do it by customer. I think this is where the tool is so dangerous now. You guys are experts, but not everybody are comfortable,
Yeah,
I'm very skeptical about the tool because I've been using it here now for a project, but when I did it, I was like, oh, what did I do? Did I know what I do? No.
You don't know what has been changed when running that script. You should, before running it, you should check all those services, all those task schedulers, all those things before running.
Yeah, but as Thomas just said, that it's all in JSON files. What's the average IT admin is not going to read through a JSON file and know what all that stuff's doing, right?
Yeah. I have a funny story about this because I had just a customer who executed this script without, like you said, without knowing what he's actually doing. And afterwards, he was searching for the calculator app. It removes the calculator, yes.
Why? Why are you removing that calculator?
Yeah, exactly.
I get 0.1 millisecond logon time improvement.
Yeah, and because the accounting department doesn't need it. Absolutely.
No, they don't need to calculate anything.
Remove the Windows Store while you're at it. No.
We should develop a tool by ourselves, a calculator by the WVD community.
Oh yeah. The calculator.
But so lessons learned when optimizing your image. Make sure you know what you are doing and not just running scripts. And it's the same with the Citrix optimizer, VMware optimizer. Know what is going on, what kind of things you are changing. Because I think is it in the VMware OSAT or in Citrix optimizer where they are also mounting the default user profile, changing a few things over there. At least you should know what is changing in the default user profile.
Yeah.
Because everybody is going to get that settings when they are logging in.
Yeah, I mean, as Thomas just mentioned before, you can easily go from I'm going to do proof of concept for 25 users. I'm just going to run this. And then tomorrow, I'm going to deploy this image to 25,000 users. That situation can happen very quickly, right? Without too much thought.
Yep.
And something also I would really like Microsoft did was to fix this FS logics like a best practice. There's a lot of things that needs to be much easier, better, so like standardized, so people are doing that. I think there are still a lot of improvements when it comes to the tools around WVD.
Yeah, so more of a best practice guide on using FS Logic and not just the tool, because in every presentation you will just see enable FS Logic and put down the VHD location, and then
I have something to share with you guys.
Sorry?
I was supposed to write a blog about it, and then I got lost in whatever I did.
Lost in your world.
I really like podcasts because this is why you listen to a podcast, don't read it on a blog. So I've done a lot of actually analysis between FS Logics in volume on a file server with DFS with or without DFS, and then also Azure files and Azure NetApp files. And I worked a lot with the Azure NetApp files. Interesting is now actually the price of the Azure NetApp files I've seen. The last project I did was the same price as the file server with the storage attached to it, which was quite interesting with the same capacity wise. Now the amount of IOPS you're getting, of course, is the ultimate, right?
Yep.
But did you guys know that if you do Azure files, which is many times recommended by Microsoft with FS Logics, you actually get the worst performance? It's actually worse than files with a file server with IOPS. Did you know?
Because I think single channel, you get SMB. You don't get with the FS Logics. You get
small hidden things of Azure, and I think I need to write about what I'm talking about and then really dig into what it is. But it's something I've seen. And to be honest, it also made me like really think why are we getting this pushed so crazy with the Azure files? If you can design your things better, smarter, faster, right? Like Azure NetApp files, or if you want to do a typical file server, traditional wise, there are actually really downsides about the Azure files, which made me extremely concerning because it's so hard pushed strategy wise. have you ever thought about that? Do you guys knew this as a problem? I have customers that tells me, why are you telling me to use this service, right? So I have to, put down the evidence, break down the things. And because I've been doing a lot of testing with it as well, one thing is what you see, another thing is what is reality. It's really, really interesting.
So are you seeing a massive performance difference or?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So,
and is it just with Azure files with SSD? Is it what kind of configuration are we talking about?
So maybe I should put that block.
Yeah, I think you should.
maybe I need to release it so it's ready next week. Should we agree on that? So let me do that so it gets out there, because it's a lot of information. But I did see that, right, and I was really concerned about it because I saw, like, you pay so much money more for Azure files and you get less performance. What's the logic? There's no logic. Oh, it's a PaaS service, right? But I'm like, yeah, but if it's a PaaS service, but you like, I don't see the logic with it.
If it's a PaaS service, you want at least same performance, right? You don't want worse performance.
So it's the small hidden things of Azure, right? That and it's always been like this. So the larger volume you make, the more IOPS you get.
Yeah.
Many people don't know that. The bigger you build, the more IOPS you get. The same thing goes actually with NetApp. Yeah. So everything they are putting in these kind of blocks of performance.
It's the same as on-prem, right? So when you're optimizing your storage on-prem, and you have to, obviously, the more disks you've got, the more apps you've got. The same applies to Azure as well.
Yeah, but on-prem, to be honest, I don't many times think that much about, especially if you do caching locally to disk, like NVMe or, these big caching disks, fast with SSDs on them, then you don't, you just have like hundreds of thousands of IOPS, to cache there. And it's just, I think it's really, really important when people are sizing the things in Azure with WVD, because the things are growing, right? The amount of storage is growing, and then that's what you're paying for. And of course, all the different people, they love you because you guys are consuming their resources and buy more and more, right?
Yeah, so one common thing which I saw when I first started working with WVD, and I'm sure it's a common mistake which people make, is when they're building their multi-session host pools, they're just selecting, say, the standard SSD disks on their OS drives. They're not building separate application disks. On a standard SSD disk, obviously you're limited to 500 IOPS. Now, if you've got maybe, 15 users on a host, 500 IOPS can get used up very, very quickly. And I actually saw that in quite a few custom environments where they're hitting IOPS limit, but they don't know how to do all that monitoring or troubleshooting and stuff like that, because they think it's Azure, it just works by default. But there's still that sizing that needs to go into it all, right?
Size does matter.
Size does matter.
It does. It's all about the data. And oh my God, I can keep on talking over and over again. The one thing I do, one thing I'm not so impressed about is the reliability about the WVD, and the customers themselves. They have to create alerts and logs to their own services to see what's wrong, and you only get some. You actually don't get everything, and it's amazing Microsoft get away with it. I think it's actually amazing because they are Microsoft and they can get away with it. If you are a service provider, I work many times with service providers. These guys, they can get away with it. If systems are down, then they have a problem with the customer. And then sometimes the customer, they sue them, right? Because now they've been impacted and they can't produce items.
And you can't do shit about it because, well, it's managed by Microsoft.
Don't get me wrong, I really like WVD. It is just quite amazing that when sometimes these hiccups comes and they get away with it. I think it's really, really interesting.
I think it was the same case.
Who does customer call? They call you guys, us, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Why is it down? Oh, then they try to log in 15 minutes after. Oh, I can log in now. What happened?
You don't know.
You don't know. Yeah. Anyways, but it's still getting better and better. So yeah. I do like working with it, and customers they like it, but So, and I guess, you know, unreliable assistance will always be there on-prem, cloud, whatever, but it's just still.
So we had Peter on the podcast a few weeks ago, and he was basically saying there's 100 people constantly developing, improving WVD. Did you see the thing about Citrix? They've taken on 600 people, developers.
Yeah,
that was quite interesting.
Yeah, and I think they cannot also, you know, I think it's important to give both Citrix and VMware attention with what they're doing with WVD or cloud. I think more cloud. Let's talk about cloud, what they're doing, because I think that's where Citrix, they know the cloud is the future, right? And VMware also. And it's really nice to see Citrix are changing their code to web-based, right? I think some has got access to that. So that's really nice to see where they're going, and they have to. But it's also, there's a big change happening with Citrix customers with the license now going to cloud only. It's going to be interesting what's happening. But I do see, you know, when does it make sense to put Citrix on? Because I think it really deserves attention. Why do you need Citrix? Why do you need VMware? Why do you need to just do pure WVD? Because, you know, all the guys, they're working together, right? Well, Microsoft and Citrix are working together, and VMware and Microsoft they're big technology partners. And that makes sense. So, but that's another subject just to talk about.
We can speak for hours and hours and
Yeah,
hours
we
about
can.
that subject.
Get VMware in, get Citrix in, because I think then, you know, then they can talk about what they're doing.
What would be good? A load of people from Citrix, a load of people from VMware, from Microsoft, lots of beers in the pub, webcam on them, go.
And you think you're allowed to record that?
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Cool. Well, we've just gone over an hour, so we could probably sit here talking all afternoon. But I'm sure you've got stuff to do, Thomas.
Yeah, always stuff to do. Actually doing some WVD project here after. So yeah.
So next week you will publish a blog about FS Logic file storage solutions.
Yeah, I want to break down more the storage solutions that you use for FS Logics, because I think it's quite important when how we size and design solutions, and eventually the cost, performance, what do you get, what do you gain, but also like Neil is saying, how do you design even properly, even with you know, the system itself, because I think that's another conversation. But maybe these kind of design principles, maybe it sounds like something like a WVD design best practices.
Have you seen? This has gone underneath the hood, but I've looked at it and it looks amazing. Have you seen the cloud adoption framework that they released last week?
No.
So they released a cloud adoption framework type document for WVD, which goes over those kind of principles and how to design your environment effectively and stuff.
But it's according to Microsoft, right?
Yeah, it's a Microsoft document. Yeah, according to Microsoft.
I take a little bit things off screen with myself, because they are also targeted when it comes to consumption and money. And I do need to make it point out, this is Azure Files, is a great example on some of the things I will go into that. Because I've been really wondering, why is it being positioned so much?
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a PaaS service, you pay more, and it's easy to set up. It was not easy to set up not so long time ago. Now it's easier, but I still don't think it's easy to set up.
No,
if you
it's still easy.
Azure Files, have you guys done Azure Files? It's crazy easy.
Yeah, last week we did.
It's amazing. It has limitations, but what it does is actually really good. And I don't know. I'm a big guy of simplicity and things that are made in the GUI.
Yep, I'm with you on that one. Keep it simple. It's my normally when I'm working in environments, it's my number one principle. Keep it simple. The worst environments I've seen, which the ones which are over-architected, people deploy stuff just for the sake of deploying it. 9 times out of 10, you can get what you need just by keeping it simple, right?
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
So
cool. Well, I think We're all going to have to get back to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was, thanks for inviting me, guys. It was a pleasure.
No problem. It's been good having you on, and we'll definitely have to get you back sometime for some more in-depth conversations.
Will do.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Thomas, for your time, for the very interesting conversation. And we'll hope to see you again in our podcast.
Yeah. No, thanks for inviting me. It was actually really cool to be a part of you. Each one of you guys, there's so much out there, but you guys are definitely one of the things I see all the time. So thanks you guys also for making these newsletters every week. I am one of the fan people behind it. I watched it.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can grab a beer at an event sometime.
You guys didn't, there was one last thing. You guys didn't talk so much about the Danish WVD user group. But that's okay.
Tell us about the Danish WVD user group, Thomas.
We can take that another time when the group is real.
And now you set up the Twitter handle, right? But
there are some small hiccups right now. I just need to get solved, and then I can't go into the details. But when they're solved, then hopefully I can get things rolling.
Cool. Nice.
Cool. Good.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. I'm gonna end it. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you later.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.